Talking about you got this and you got that, and you gonna murder this one and murder that one. Talking all that bullshit. I'm gonna put it to you like this, yo.
This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me. I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Only Friends podcast. We have a very special one for everybody today.
We're light on the friends.
We are a little light on the friends, you know. I guess I didn't really think about that. Thanks for bringing that to my attention, Landon.
How many friends do you have?
Well, how few friends the two of us have at this point.
Many and few can be interchanged. Like how many or how few? How many? There's two. How few? There's two.
I mean, this is definitely a quality over quantity thing, right?
They have different connotations, I think. But yes, Guapo, for sure. The three most important members.
Many, few, and only. That's who we are, the Only Friends podcast. What's the word that people... Oh, it's irregardless. People say irregardless.
Irregardless, bro.
People say...
Only people from New York.
People say, yeah,
That was Berto's favorite.
Irregardless.
Irregardless.
Because it means the same thing as regardless.
Correct, yeah.
But people just kept saying it for some reason, so now they made it a word. Like 100 years ago, they made it a word.
One of the you would have never guessed it words that
You'd have never guessed.
that I learned many years ago. I don't even know how it happened. But you're aware of the phrase moot point?
Yes.
It means a point not worth arguing.
Right.
Or sorry. It means the opposite of that.
Like an important point?
Yeah, I can't like the definition of it's very.
I see what you're saying.
It's very convoluted. Yes,
it's misleading.
We use it in the opposite. We use it for the opposite effect of what it actually was originally intended to mean.
Right, like moot points are supposed to be something you're supposed to argue.
It's
like something that is
worth,
important.
Yeah, something
versus
worth,
not important.
Correct, something worth arguing.
No, not mute.
Not
point.
mute.
Oh man, I
My
always self-report like this.
My day has finally come. That's like you guys are, or you won't get this anyway later. But there's a Friends episode where Joey goes, "It's a moo point," and they're like, "What?" He's like, "It's a moo point. Like cows don't bother talking about it."
Right, moo.
Yeah,
I've heard them. I feel like that's not the first time you've said this moo point on the pod.
Yeah, probably not.
It's a good Andy word, you know.
I can't follow this AI overview. There's way too much reading there.
There's a lot of words
that made me dizzy.
I'm happy if you were sorry that happened.
Yeah. We do have a good show today. We are going to revisit the debate between should media / onlookers speak up if there's an injustice at the table. Poker.org did a roundtable last week, I believe, maybe Friday, with the poker boss, Savage, Tony Burns, BJ Namath, and crew were all in tow. They had a nice little discussion about this, so we'll kind of cover some of the highlights of that. Prior to that, we're going to be joined by the actual third place finisher who was wronged in this situation, and I apologize in advance.
Yeah, we should have looked this one up, huh?
Yeah, I meant to, and I just didn't. But I'm going to give it the old college try. Satyarthi?
I think his first name is Divyam.
Oh yeah, his last name's Satyarthi. Divyam I would have got that one, yeah. I think, at least.
We'll go with that one. That one seems easy.
So Divyam Satyarthi. There's an I at the end. I'm not pronouncing the I. We'll ask him how to pronounce it. Yeah. How about that?
That'll work.
That seems like the right idea. He's going to be joining us in about 15 minutes or so. We're going to hear, basically how everything went down, what he feels could have been done differently, perhaps, as well as, just how he got to this point to begin with. Prior to all that, though, there's some very exciting news. As you can see, I'm rocking the colors today. DK Metcalf, bring him home, baby. Come on, WR1, let's go.
You got him for a 2025 second round pick. How do people like this go for so little?
Well, because we have to compensate him.
Right. So they're saying we're going to give you a pick, but you have to pay the guy.
Yes.
But like, it still feels like not that much for someone that's really, really good.
Debo went for a 5th rounder.
Yeah, I get that. That seems nuts.
Well, in the NFL, I think what it is that NFL free agency is so powerful, and it's so hard to re-sign guys because they're so expensive that you're going to lose them anyway. So they're happy to take any compensation. Whereas, like,
I see what you're saying. They couldn't pay him.
Baseball's the sport where like real blockbuster trades get pulled off a lot.
I see what you're saying. That makes sense. They just can't pay them anymore. So instead of letting them walk and having the stewards pick them up,
right?
They're gonna say, "Hey, you want this guy?"
And it's not a matter of can or can't. It's more of a matter of like, there's a cap, so we have to figure out where we're going to allocate funds.
Each team has a certain amount of money they can spend.
Correct.
But
they just raised the cap this year. That's why you're seeing all these contracts get inflated.
Hold on. But all of the money is different, or each team can only spend the same amount?
Each team can only spend the same amount. I think it's 200.
In baseball, that's not true.
There's no salary cap in baseball. There's a luxury tax, though.
What is?
So if you spend more than like, I can't remember if it's a set amount or if it's like a percentage of the bottom tier of the league. But whatever it is, if you go over this threshold, then you have to pay like a 25% tax to the bottom third of the league, basically. This is another way that the Pirates just absolutely profiteer off of being a shitty team.
Can I have an example?
They don't spend any money, so I think their average, they just broke $100 million, I think, for their annual salary, which is like bottom 5 in the league. The Yankees and the Dodgers spend like $400 or $500 million, I think. So they have to pay a tax then to the rest of the league, or some percentage of the league.
To who though? Like, what does that mean?
To every team that doesn't go over the threshold.
Oh, so if they go over, they just pay the Pirates money?
Yeah.
So the Pirates are using Yankee money to get their people.
Well, no, the Pirates are just putting that right in their pocket. The owners are putting that right in their pocket.
Right, but they're not giving them enough money for that. Like, they're not giving them $100 million, right?
No. It might be like $100 million split up amongst the league.
So then...
But it's just free money.
Just free money to the owners of the Pirates?
Yeah. Everything goes to the top.
Wow. But they get to have...
The idea was that it would level the playing field, that money would get reinvested into your payroll, but not...
People have decided to keep it.
Yeah.
He said, we don't need to spend that.
There's an error in the logic.
But it does make for cool trades, I guess.
Baseball's fascinating around the trade deadline.
Do you think there's ever going to be a time where football removes
the cap? No.
Yeah, removes the cap.
It's the best league in all of sports. And it's
because
largely because of the cap.
I see.
Not largely because, but the cap creates parity. Like, look at this. I mean, I don't know how closely you've been paying attention, but there have been, I wouldn't say blockbuster moves, but there have been like, legitimate game changers, just changing teams left and right the past week or so. DK Metcalf just got signed by the Steelers. Devontae Adams got signed by the Rams.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
He wanted out of Vegas, but he was out.
He was in New York.
He was in New York.
Yeah.
He was at New York. He was with Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. Is Aaron playing again?
Probably.
Wow.
He seems to be eyeing up either Minnesota or the Giants.
Put him on the team with the receiving core.
Minnesota would be an interesting fit.
Where's Darnold?
Pittsburgh's like not out of the question, but I don't think we want him.
It's odd that we have a 14-win season and then just like get removed.
Well, Sam Darnold's going to command a lot in free agency. He's going to be like 45, 50 million.
Where do you think he's going to go?
Again, there were talks about Pittsburgh, but I don't think we pay. We can't pay because we're going to re-sign TJ sometime this week. He's going to be $50 million a year. Yeah, I think we have a lot of cap space, but I don't think they're going to get a big signing in free agency when they can just get Fields or Russ for pretty cheap.
Is Russ staying?
No, I don't think so. I think it's going to be Fields. Although the signing of DK would indicate that Russ might stay. They had pretty good chemistry in Seattle, but I hope not.
You took the Seattle offense.
I don't.
Pittsburgh.
I don't want Russ to stay personally. You
guys can get Marshawn Lynch while you're at it too.
Bring him out of retirement. Baby. Let's go. Boom, boom. While we're talking sports really quickly, big shout out to my college that I went to, Gannon University. They won the PSAC tournament yesterday in basketball. They had a killer year, 28-6, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
That's
24-6,
the real college
sorry.
try.
It's funny they have the logos reversed here.
Wait.
We are the
so Gannon is supposed to have the.
we are the Golden
Okay,
Knights.
gotcha.
Hence the GU on the shield for Gannon University.
Wow, what great reporting we got there.
We mopped Shepherd. Shout out to Patrick Ramey, one of our former students, who hit me up and let me know about this matchup. He went to Shepherd, so that's why he wanted to let me know. But we're in the tournament, whatever the fuck that means. I didn't even know D2 had the NCAA tournament, but apparently they do.
And not NIL, right?
NIL is name and likeness.
Sorry. Wait a minute.
NAIA is not affiliated to the
I thought
NCAA.
there was a smaller
name,
March
image,
Madness.
and likeness. Sorry. There is. It's the
I thought there was
NIL is name, image, likeness.
Remember, I'm.
There is a secondary tournament to the dance, if you will, and you're right. I believe it starts with an N, and now I don't remember what it is because all I'm thinking is NIL. But you're gonna get on that. You're gonna let us know. March Madness is right around the corner. Best time of year for poker players that live in Vegas, by the way. If you're not in Vegas, it's a good time to consider coming to Vegas. I think the 18th is the first. Is the kickoff? Yeah, that's the play-in game, I believe, is the 18th. The 20th, Thursday.
Are all the brackets all ready to go? Is that a thing?
No. Selection Sunday is
March 16th.
March 16th, yeah.
Okay, and that's when you know who's playing who.
That's when the brackets will come out. Then you have like 3 days to, fire off your March Madness pool. We'll talk a lot about it when it comes up, I'm sure. But man, the action around town just ramps up. I'm really surprised there isn't like a major tournament series in town around that time. I know that it mostly affects cash.
Well, the Wind's gonna run some 10Ks this week.
Okay, but it's not. It's not this week. Number one.
Well, I mean, it's next week.
Yeah,
it's Sunday. I mean,
it's the end of next week.
Oh yeah.
No, it's what's today's date?
The
oh
10th.
yeah, today's the 10th. You're right. Okay, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Well, I mean,
I apologize.
I mean, if it starts Sunday, then not really.
Right, right. Did you figure out what it is?
No.
Interesting.
No.
Oh, it's the NIT.
NIT, that's what it is. I thought it was an NI something.
Just came to me.
The knit tournament.
Yeah. There you go. The knit tax. If
you don't want to play the knit tournament.
No one wants to play the knit tournament. It's embarrassing.
You know who doesn't play like a knit in tournaments?
Corey Paggeot. Yeah, that's right. I see you on that segue. Big shout out to the Corgasm, if you will, Jeffrey Goff himself.
Jared Goff.
Sorry, Jeff. Why do I keep saying Jeff Goff?
Jeff Platt.
Who is Jeff Goff?
Jeff Platt. And you say and there's Jared Goff.
I do think it is because of that.
Jeffrey Platt Goff.
God damn it. Corey went out to
Passport.
Hammond, Indiana. He picked up his 11th ring there, $38,000 on a nice little uptick.
He went on a voyage.
He did, to the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
But it seems as though he was able to pick up a nice little chunk of change. He's on like a 100K upswing here. No big deal.
Come on, the Corey.
Not to be outdone, Ari Engel goes out and wins his 19th to put himself atop the leaderboard.
He did do that.
How did these guys just like... Maurice wins his 18th last week.
And he even congratulated him and did the whole thing.
Yeah, Ari just turns right around.
He's like, okay.
It was the thing is the Super Circuit is going on right now.
WSOP Super Circuit, yeah.
Online, yeah. So that's what he won the PA one. It was like 85 runners or so. So I think Corey will be back just in time for that. Maybe he can add another 3 or 4 on the resume this week. I don't know. Honestly, like, it's kind of come full circle for me with the ring thing, where like I cared at first because it was early in my career when they first started.
Circuit rings? Yeah,
I want to say it was like 20, early-ish in my career, like roughly. It was like right at the point where I was good and could play. So it was something that felt worth chasing. But living in Vegas, we didn't really get any circuit stops. We just had the one at Bally's and then the one at Planet Hollywood. So we would get 2 a year, and I didn't really travel for them. I did, not to brag, but I got second place in the first ever Bally's one.
We know you never win.
I did not win.
Yeah.
God, that was brutal. I lost to a future WSOP main event final tableist. And I can't remember his name right now, which is very embarrassing. British guy. But I got second. It was huge. It was $175K for second place for what, $1,100 buy-in, $1,600 buy-in, something like that.
That's a lot of buy-ins.
Yeah.
Man.
First was like 240-ish.
The circuits. Shout to the circuits.
But then I stopped caring about them because it was like, Conrad won a ring playing a like $120 buy-in.
There's some PLO
half.
nonsense.
No, it was half.
Getting them.
It was like 16 people. Like, yeah, you get a ring. You get a. But now everybody's got so many rings. There's this like pooling at the top, Like there's only maybe a dozen people with double-digit rings.
Yeah, Godspeed.
They're like the Doyles and the Ivies and the Seidel's of World Series circuits.
Yeah.
11 rings, 18 rings, 19 rings.
How do you? Yeah.
A short list.
It is. It is a short list with. I guess Ari plays mixed games but Maurice winning 18. Well, 17.
17 with an asterisk.
Yeah, 18 with an asterisk.
Right. Yeah.
And probably only No Limit.
Yeah.
I mean, having 17 is strong. This other one could have been,
I believe if I saw the list correctly, I think he and Ari both have like a dozen second place finishes too.
That makes sense for Ari, but Maurice just goes to every circuit stop.
Oh yeah, man.
That's the thing here.
Those are his people.
That's how it is.
Yeah, easy to find a buy in there.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about the circuit and we're gonna revisit Maurice's win asterisks the other day, we finally got video footage of the actual hand. So I know the last time we spoke about this, a lot of the comments were like, if you see the footage, I was like, where the fuck are you guys finding this footage? Well, we found the footage. And here it is.
What a comment at the top. The caption.
So the one thing to take note of here is the way this dealer is dressed. He's almost certainly a floor person dealing.
Flip of these cards, bro.
Oh shit! I thought I won. My bad.
Brother, you did.
Oh, that's so brutal.
I mean, we can break this one down later.
The flip of these cards is so quick, Matt.
We definitely need a Joey Ingram locked in session breaking down all the body language but like
brother was in that
Matrix.
Divyam.
Yeah, I almost said Dimitri. When Divyam goes, oh, sorry, I thought I won, my bad. And Maurice goes, straight, bro, straight. At that point, like, he knew. At that point, he fucking knew. I'm sure of it. I mean, allegedly. But it just felt like the way he just like
straight,
overly
bro.
projected, like straight, like, don't look for anything else, like ignore those 4 clubs up there. Don't sweat that. I got a straight.
5 card hand,
bro. Like, let's move on. Good game.
GG, my friend. Wow.
So we are going to be joined by Divyam here. I believe he's on the line. Hello sir.
Yo.
Thanks for having me on.
Anytime. Thanks for joining us.
Can you tell us real quick, how do we say your last name?
Satyarthi.
Satyarthi. Okay, that doesn't seem as difficult as maybe we made it out.
No, but it's very far away from what I tried to say. I don't even know. I don't even want to attempt. I know I wasn't pronouncing the I. That's for sure. What do we got on back there? A little squat rack in the background?
Yeah, it's like in a home office gym setup, so.
Hell yeah.
Okay, brother.
You're going to hit it afterwards. All right, so obviously you've been the talk of the town. The hand has been pretty viral over the last few days. Why don't you walk us through a little bit of like what happened in that moment, how things kind of got confused, and when exactly you realized that you may have mucked a winner? Not you, but they.
Yeah. So basically, I think just like some background leading up to it, the whole, like, I think over the last like 3 days, just from all the from just playing like all the other day one flights and stuff, and just like the excitement of everything. I think I had not slept much the entire weekend. So I was running on like a few hours of sleep. So brain was going a little slow, went all in. I like saw the 10, and then I thought I still won. And I was like, I guess I misfudged. I thought I just misread the suits or something, because the dealer was just like, the dealer just took my hand and mucked it. And like, I feel like everything happened. But yeah, even in the video after watching it again, everything happened so fast, and I was like, oh shit, I guess I lost. But then a few hours later, someone messaged me on LinkedIn of all things and was like, yeah, dude, here's images, here's like some more proof from like the poker org stories, you had the winning hand. And then the guy who messaged me said that he then reached out to poker org, and then they deleted all that stuff off their stories too. So
Oh no.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
yeah, that's what the guy who told me. That's what the guy who messaged me on LinkedIn said. And then like, I told some friends, and then when my friends made the tweet, and then everything just like blew up the next day. So
Yeah, that makes sense. Third place was for like 65-ish. Is that right?
yeah,
And first was like 140.
yeah,
And this was your second biggest score, right?
yeah, second biggest. So
Wow. That's so brutal, man.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate. How big was the pot relative to the other stacks?
it wasn't that big. It was like, I think at the time the chips were somewhere in the ballpark of like, Maurice had like 9 mil, the other guy had 8. I shoved for 1. So even if I like won that, the chips are still like 8. It's like 8 mil, 2 mil. So like like I just like checked like an ICM calculator after. It's like the difference is like a 7K. It's like 6 or 7K. So it's not the craziest thing, but it's still like losing the chance to like play for, a ring. So.
Yeah, of course. And significant amount of money. I mean, not that 6 or 7K is anything to scoff at, but you would happily gamble that amount to have a shot to pick up an extra 60K or whatever.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah, very unfortunate. I wanted to ask a question about the dealer. So my perspective, like seeing him in the box, the way he's dressed, am I wrong to assume that that's a 4-person dealing?
I'm not entirely sure. I think someone
was that like how all the dealers were dressed?
Yeah, and then some people I talked to said like that guy had been dealing at other tables during the series, so I'm pretty sure. Dealer too. So.
Yeah, I think somebody said that he's a 4-person at the WSOP, and the way that he was dressed, it looks like, I don't know if this has ever happened to you or anybody in the audience, but oftentimes there'll be situations where like the push will get screwed up somehow, and a dealer will be on break or whatever the case may be, and they'll need somebody to fill in really quickly, and usually a floor will sit in because they're most often previously dealers who trained up to become floors, and usually they're wearing a suit, so they just take their jacket off, they have a nice button down with a tie on, and they deal. And that's what that appeared to be to me. He seems like he's a very good dealer, obviously, with how fast he riffled everything off, but killing that hand so quickly without catching it, I understand, like, mistakes get made, and I think we all understand that and can have a little bit of empathy for everybody involved. But where it gets a little bit weird is like, how do you correct for them? So has anybody reached out to you from WSOP or Maurice himself or anybody like that trying to make this right?
I've talked to some people at like Horseshoe, and they said they're working on something, and then they'll give me some contacts of people to reach out at WSOP, because basically the Horseshoe said like they were the ones running the route, like they were the ones running the tournament, but it was like that was a WSOP traveling dealer, so they said some kind of jury's out on that, on what's going to happen or if there'll be any resolution there. So
yeah. What's your background as far as like playing? How long have you been playing? Do you play casually, professionally?
Play pretty, like, I've been playing since like 2020. I just play like, it's like a little bit of like a step above casually, where it's like I'll play mainly on like weekends and home games, and then like every now and then I'll like travel to like, I think I traveled to the series once, and then like we'll go try to play if there's like things like the circuit or stuff like that. So it's like I still have a full-time job as like as a software engineer, so when I can I'll try to play, but it's not like I can't devote that much time.
Yeah, of course. A quick question about the reporting. Did you have any inclination that the reporter realized in real time that the winning hand had been killed? Because I know that's the direction that this conversation is kind of steered. Everybody's kind of asking, like, should the reporter have spoken up? Well, I actually didn't see anywhere where the reporter said, like, I saw it in real time and didn't say anything because of a code of ethics or anything along those lines.
I have no idea, because it's like I'm not sure if it just like the reporter, like in the moment, if the reporter is just trying to like record things and then like saw it a flush, or like then wrote it down when they're like reporting the story. Because like initially when I saw the story, I was like, oh, maybe they just like misreported the hand or something. I was like, there's no way I'd have flush there. So then it wasn't the fact. So I'm not really sure if the reporter saw or not. But yeah.
And I guess one question to get you out of here, I'll turn it over to Guapo and Landon if they have any questions. What's your opinion as far as like being a player or spectator at the table in situations like this? Like if roles were reversed and say you were an onlooker overseeing this hand, would this be something that if you noticed it, you would feel inclined to point out, or do you feel like this is like kind of police your own hand type of situation?
I mean, I think it depends like on the circumstances, where like if I was a player at the table, I probably would say something, especially like when the hands are tabled like that in like an all-in situation, or like if it's a showdown where people have flipped over their hands, like I think something should be said, whether it's from the dealers or other players. I know there have been like situations where if like there's like a showdown like PLO and someone like has like their hands like to their face and they're like trying to like see what they have. Like I know I'd never say anything like that and be like, yo, you have a flush or something, you know?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
So it's like, for the most part, I think when it's like showed down like that, yeah, I would. Yeah,
I think that's an important distinction, and maybe that kind of gets lost in the conversation. I know Len put out a long story about the difference, and I think he's very spot on about that. It's when it's privileged information, even if it's kind of shared between two people, that's not your it's not right to intervene. It's still up to the person to catch it themselves, but when the cards are on their backs, they should almost always, actually they probably should always speak in that regard. And I think that it's important that players in the game are helping police that, even if it's to their detriment, which in this instance, you're on an island, because it's to everyone's detriment for you to double up. You know, the dealer's there longer if you double up. The second place guy doesn't make as much money. Maurice doesn't make as much, you know what I mean? Like, there's nobody really there advocating for you if a mistake is made, and that's pretty unfortunate. You guys got anything?
I feel like the way that the cards, if you look at the footage, are like placed for the all-in, made it seem like very easy for, like, see the Queen 10, it's like together, where if it was like separated a bit, I'm pretty sure like this doesn't happen.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like the Queen and the 10 are right, like overlapping each other, where if you look at like all-in footage for WSOP, like the cards are separated out so you can clearly see each card.
Yeah.
Because then that's when it could look like it's just Queen 10 of spades and you just have a 10. You just go straight, bro. Straight, bro. Straight.
Yeah.
You see this? You see straight?
There was a straight. What are your plans moving forward now?
I mean, not that much. Like, just like besides, like, I mean, it happened in the past. Nothing I can really do about it. See if I can get anything from WSOP or like Horseshoe. And then aside from that, just like keep playing, like try to make it out to the series this year, play some more tournaments, and definitely will be double checking all my all-ins to make sure I'm reading stuff right.
Yeah, that's a lesson learned. On my end, no questions. Just wanted to say thank you. I know I got a hold of you last minute, and we really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, anytime. Hope to see you over the summer during the series. Hopefully you make a deep run. If so, let's by all means jump back on here. I'd love to have a celebratory story instead.
You got extra eyes and you're all in from now on.
Yeah. We'll look out for you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, buddy.
Thanks, man. Oh man, it's so painful.
I think one of the when I was talking about this like outside of here, I was hearing a lot of like it's on WSOP to kind of make it right as well, where if it's a dealer error and they're hired by WSOP, it does make sense in this instance for the casino or whoever, I guess it's WSOP because it's not like casino, to make it right. Like, and how hard is it for them to be like, if we ran the numbers versus him winning the all-in versus not, and it was a 7K difference and we'll give him 7K or whatever.
When he said he ran an ICM calc and he missed out on 6K, how does that work?
So he just adjusts the stacks. So like he said, it would be as if he properly doubled up. So the stacks would be 8 million, 8 million, 2 million.
Well, it'll be a little more because of the blinds, but sorry.
Yeah. But once you have those three stacks, then you look at what an ICM chop would be.
Okay.
So instead of 65-ish, he would get like 71-ish.
Do you think it would be a big ass to have the WSOP put him in the main?
I don't think so.
I think it's a good solution, to be honest. I don't know if like he's even able to take that much time off, but that would be a pretty reasonable solution.
Nice offer.
Yeah, I think a lesser solution would be that they put him in the TOC. It's not worth nearly as much, but if they paid like travel costs and stuff like that, it would be somewhat reasonable compensation.
Yeah,
because I think the tournament champions is roughly a $1K to $1,500 seat, give or take.
More, but
yeah,
it's like 2K.
It depends. Yeah. Well, it depends how many make it and how many show up, I guess.
That's
your value swings, right? Depending on how many people actually show.
Yeah. I guess in recent past it's been around like 2K plus or whatever, but yeah.
Right, but not based off of how many qualified. I think you're right. I think like 500 showed up to $1 million guarantee last year.
Yeah, it's possible you make money because people don't show up.
Yeah. I think like almost 800 qualified, but
500 showed up.
Like 500 showed up. Yeah. So I mean, like that would be put them up at whatever hotel it's going to be. Whether it's, I guess they haven't announced yet. That was something else we talked about the other day.
Have they yet or no?
They have not. So we don't know where the TOC is going to be this year. Maybe it's in Vegas. Maybe it's at Cherokee. I don't know.
You mean Commerce?
Could still be at Commerce. It might move to Hustler. Now, who knows?
They said Cherokee, and I was like, what the heck?
Well, because Cherokee's like the biggest stop. That's where it's always been in the past.
Really?
Yeah, for many years it was Cherokee.
Oh, wow. My friend.
And it was a different time. It was earlier than the WSOP. It was overlapping. It always overlapped Florida.
That would be nice.
At like end of April, I think.
That would be nice.
Because I remember J-Mars would, or maybe it overlapped a Spring Brigada event. I don't remember, but it's been a long time since I was out there grinding these things.
Because it got moved to Vegas, but now it's gone. But hopefully it comes back because people did not did not like it.
Yeah. They didn't like Commerce by all accounts.
There was outcry in the streets.
Yeah, people weren't happy about it. I know this conversation's kind of been beaten to death, but I do think that it's worth bringing up again because one, it's important to hear his side of the events, I think. And it's also important to fill in the details. Like, it's good to know that was only for 10% of the chips in play, as opposed to like a third or half or something. You know what I mean? Like, the pot matters, of course, but it sounds like it was less than a 20 big blind pot. Yeah,
and it wasn't like being third to chip leader.
Yeah, precisely. So that matters a lot.
Obviously still really annoying.
It's nice to hear that, like, Hammond is at least, or sorry, not Hammond, Horseshoe at Baltimore is at least in contact with him. And it sounds like WSOP is going to give him some sort of follow-up as well. But the story rages on from the media side of things as well. And I think that it's important what Poker News did. If you guys haven't had the chance to watch the full roundtable discussion, it's about an hour long. And you can find that on Poker.org or on their YouTube. And the quick highlights are basically, I think there was a lot of agreement amongst the group that situations like this should be remedied in some sort of capacity, as well as I think everyone agrees that cards speak. Where the debate still rages on is who has the capacity, or who I guess from a principled standpoint should be allowed to point out these sort of errors. And at a baseline, I thought McCormick made a really good point, and he kind of echoed what I said on the pod, so maybe he was watching. If so, shout out to you, sir. I appreciate you. But he made a very good point in saying, like, if we decide that the cards speak and that this is policeable by anybody who can read the cards, so to speak, then as operators, we need to push that message downward. So we need to let all of our managers know this. We need to let the dealers know this. We need to let the floor people know this. We need to let everyone understand that they have the power to speak up if something is incorrectly being applied in a situation like this. And that will extend out to the media. And I think that that's really critical to say. And I think that it's a point that somewhere along the lines, everybody needs to get on the same page for. So, this kind of restates what I was talking about last week, where I just think that the thread and the fabric of poker comes from these seedy back rooms where it was a shady game, and the sole purpose to play was because you felt as though you had a large edge over your opposition, and it didn't necessarily have to be a fair edge. It easily could have just been that you were more cunning than them. You were able to find ways to manipulate them, either through angles or speech play or actually cheating. Like all of these things were kind of on the table in poker's origin story. But we've evolved a lot post Moneymaker Boom, post Black Friday, into an arena where, this is a career for many. And if we want to be considered the same as chess, I think what people fail to recognize when they make the chess poker comparison is that chess, first and foremost, sorts for intelligence. So right out of the gate, there's a very high barrier of entry for somebody who's going to take on chess as a hobby or a serious competition, right? Secondarily, there's no real incentive outside of just winning or losing the game. There's no gambling element to it. Now, don't get me wrong, chess does have a long history of hustle culture attached to it when you talk about like the people in Central Park that are playing for money and gambling a bit on it, whatever. But at its core, it's not really a game rooted in gambling. And finally, it's the purest form of competition, right? Like, there's a winner and a loser, or I guess there are plenty of draws, but point is that like it's a clear closed system where you can measure every move, you can rank people through an elo, like all of these things are luck removed basically, and it's easy for the onlooker to just observe chess for what it is, which is a pure mind sport.
Feels very aristocratic.
Yeah, exactly. Poker is the exact opposite. Right? Poker doesn't sort necessarily for intelligence, at least not at its lowest form, right? It sorts for cunningness. It sorts for shadiness. Like
street smart kind of.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he's got the spades.
Exactly, right?
Because I put two of them in the other room.
Right. But that's the way the game has been marketed for decades, right? Like it's a game of wits and wagers. So you're playing the opponent as much as you're playing the game itself. There is no play. I mean, maybe to a small degree, but in chess, like there isn't really playing the opponent, right? You're playing the board, and it's always just constantly you versus the board, so to speak.
There's not like outside factors that you try to do to get like distract someone or disturb them, I suppose.
Right.
You know, like there's a difference of like making moves where you think that somebody won't adjust correctly, but that's within the confines of the game, not using other
Precisely. The meta in chess is just perhaps an anticipation factor of how the other person's thinking about the game. The meta in poker is well beyond that, right? It's what's the emotional state of my opposition? Like, can I manipulate them in some sort of
folded?
It's much more similar to a game of like split or steal, where your incentive is to convince the other person to split when you're stealing, type of thing, right? It's at its root base level, at the smallest stakes, when no one knows anything about anything, it truly is just a game of manipulation, right? And a back and forth of kind of finding ways to know more about your opposition than he may know about himself, and allow that to make profitable decisions. So if we want to get out of that, right? And that doesn't even really speak that much to the old culture of the Wild Wild West, where people are playing with guns on the table, and you know you have this added element of danger and cheating and theft and all this other stuff that's added. None of this stuff exists in chess, right? So
underworldly behavior.
Yeah.
Imagine a chess club getting stuck off at gunpoint.
Right. So if we want to get closer to chess,
put your bishops in the air,
where this is more of a mind sport and less of the seedy past that our origin story comes from, then we need to get rid of this culture of keep your mouth shut whenever.
Like it doesn't involve you.
Right.
You're not in the hand. Get out.
We have a culture of mistakes should be punished in poker. So if somebody makes an error, we should never speak up. We should just allow that error to occur naturally, and we should all benefit from it, because since it's a zero-sum game, the way that you make something out of it is somebody else giving you something.
That's like the same sort of thing when if you're at a final table and see the dealer overpay someone, should you say something or not because it impacts you?
Right.
Of course you should.
Of course.
He's in close.
Yeah.
Even though you're gaining, like in the GG 25K, you're gaining 6 figures or so, or high 5 figures in equity by someone else getting the wrong pot, depending on where you're at.
Was there an example of this?
It was at the 25K.
At the Bahamas, right?
Yeah, it was the final table streamed where like they overpaid like a $16 million all-in for 20 or 6 million chips for 22.
Yeah, I think
or something like
I
that.
think I have a link of that. Hold on.
You're calling 16, you're calling 22. Let's roll.
Here it is. I'm gonna send it to you, Guap.
Got it.
Okay, yeah. So we did have another example. Actually, this isn't the overpay, but I think this was also at the Bahamas, or maybe it was WSOP Europe. I think this was WSOP Europe.
This one's WSOP Europe.
Yeah, so this is the chop pot where nobody alerts the Jack 10 that he actually just gets half the pot.
So look at the RFID too. It says split.
Right. And this is another one of those scenarios where it's like somebody has to have recognized here, right? But the question, like where this comes into play, right? So when we're establishing now that like if we think media should be allowed to get involved, this is now a scenario where it's like, do we let production get involved? Right? And this is why I think people say it's a slippery slope.
Did you happen to see Sean's tweet about this, Deebs?
Yeah, I think he's dead wrong.
Okay, yeah.
I think everybody is kind of on the side that Sean's dead wrong. The comparisons he made were so bad. But anyway, before we get to that,
it's just like it says split, and the guy's like shaking hands and gets a payout.
Yeah, like I don't think it's wrong to pause the tournament here and have the production manager come out and say like, you guys made an error and we have it on tape, right? And I don't remember what the outcome of this was. I don't remember if they caught it or not. I feel like they didn't, and they just eliminated this guy. This is like just a brutal way to lose a lot of money. You know?
It's so different if this goes to showdown and the guy tables King Jack and the guy mucks Jack 10.
Right, like river goes bet call.
Or just check, and the guy tables king jack,
And he just
he
mucks.
thinks, oh, like king kicker plays and mucks. That's very different.
You're right. That is.
Because you're allowed to table your hand. Like
Exactly.
you have access to your own privilege info. Production shouldn't come out and say, hey, like stop.
Agreed.
It's a chop.
Agreed.
Because that's on you, and you have as a player the option to table your hand, even if you have the loser.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And to follow on this, in this thread, they said, if memory serves, didn't they try to take the live stream down and erase the hand from existence, then start banning people from the chat who talked about it once the stream came back up?
I remember this.
And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
The answer is yes. That tweet about them trying to erase the hand from existence from the King stream, that coincides, right? And to me, that's the exact opposite of what we should be trying to do as a community. If we have extra eyeballs on it, be it the eye in the sky, be it the production team.
Well, not only that, it makes your production team look that much better versus erasing something and just saying, hey, a mistake was made.
Well, it makes them look better if you give permission for them to do this, right? And look, yeah, production is going to have to be briefed on this type of stuff. This is when you can intervene. This is when you cannot intervene. Same thing with media, right? Like if cards are tabled, you're free to speak up. If cards are not tabled, you have to, kind of remain quiet type of thing. But like taking that extra level of it's not, the slippery slope argument is like, okay, people are going to be speaking up egregiously over and over and over and over and over again. And like, again, just it's a fallacy. These situations don't come up very often. And when they do, people aren't that stupid. They can use discretion.
It's kind of nuts too, because if somebody tables a winner and thinks that they lost or whatever, and like goes around and shakes people's hands, they don't just get to absorb your stack and give it to the other guy.
Right. They still push you the pot.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you don't just get to be like, oh, see you guys.
Yeah.
I guess I'll take 5th place.
Yeah. So there's this clip where BJ's talking to Savage, and he kind of goes on to basically explain what his policy is as a media member.
I don't have a lot of sympathy for a player who is in an all-in situation and doesn't know what their cards are. I mean, I'm sorry, if you don't know what your cards are and a mistake happens, I'm sorry, that's a fatal flaw when you're paying for a lot of money. And that's on you.
I disagree. First of all, because
I mean, obviously we want to get the right call, but if a player calls an all in and is, there, and then they're like, oh wait, what are my cards? That's, you're leaving your fate in somebody's hand. Mistakes will be made. You have to protect yourself.
I can tell you what happened in this case, because I've seen it happen many, many times. That player was so focused on having a pair in his hand. He wasn't worried about the other card. He was focused on the pair in his hand. And the fact that he didn't have the cards in front of him or in his control, right? They were in the middle of the table. He, didn't see it.
Yeah, I agree with Savage here wholeheartedly.
It's also just like the dealer's job to not let mistakes happen.
And I think that's BJ's point, is that you're putting too much trust in exactly the dealer. And that's fair. But to say that you have no sympathy for somebody who can't, quote unquote, read their hand, you're just ignoring like all of the mitigating factors. It's late at night. They're playing for a lot of money. There's a lot of stress taking place right now. He's sweating it all in. He goes from way, way, way ahead to there being 7 outs in the deck or 6 outs in the deck that can cripple him. And one of the fake outs fell. You know what I mean? It's like to believe that. Here's the thing. To say you have no sympathy for the player in this instance, when the dealer and other players at the table were also duped by the same river, is basically saying that like the player himself needs to be well above human faultiness in order to ensure that he collects the pot in this instance. And that's crazy. It's a broken system, right? Like taking it one step further, what if he were just a stone amateur who just picked up the game today, right? And has barely any idea what beats what. When I first started playing, a lot of us would confuse straights for flushes as far as which beat which, right? Like, oh, a straight beats a flush, right? What if you're that type of player?
Or like,
it's not that unheard of.
You're playing short deck or whatever, where flushes beat full houses.
Right.
And you're thinking to yourself that you're playing no limit or whatever. Like your
yeah,
brain
you
has
just get confused, or you actually don't know the rule, right? There's a million instances where you should expect to be protected by the staff, right? Like if somebody angles you and you're not a seasoned person to know it, and somebody at the table speaks up because they should, are you telling me that the staff shouldn't come over and punish that guy because it didn't come from the horse's mouth? That's wild. And like, I'm not trying to move the goalpost or, draw too many conclusions from what BJ's saying, but going all the way back to the cards being on their backs and you still having to police them in spite of the fact that they speak for themselves, that to me seems like a tremendous.
There is a lot of situations, especially during the series, when there's a lot of new dealers that are getting hired to work, where a floor comes over and asks what happened.
Yeah.
And sometimes the dealer doesn't really know what happened.
Yeah.
And even though the dealer didn't say it, but someone that's been playing for a long time can express it correctly and have like the table agree, that should be taken into account versus a botched situation.
Yeah, but again, we're moving away from the point at hand. When the cards are up and they speak for themselves, and a situation arises where the one person overlooking the action, the dealer himself, when the teacher in the room or the adult in the room misses it, who then has the permission, according to BJ's stance, to speak up other than the player himself? Because it should be fucking everybody. It should be everyone who can read these cards. There's just no valid reason for it not to be everyone.
Yeah, it's funny just because situationally, this weekend played an all-in with fours against some nice ladies, ace jack, where board runs out like 8-6, 3-6-8. So she wins with an ace, and she like gets up and leaves like, no, like everyone's like, no, like you win, like you counterfeit. She's like, oh my god, like I didn't even realize, like I just thought I lost.
Right.
And it's like me saying like, oh, like three pair, like good game.
Yeah.
It's like, that ain't gonna happen. Like no one, you shouldn't let that happen. You don't want to. You shouldn't want to win like that.
Right.
You shouldn't want to win.
And not only should you like not want to win, like obviously it goes against the spirit of the game, but I just don't see how it's meddling if somebody on the rail pointed it out. If a casual onlooker passing by pointed it out, or if the reporter who's logging every bit of information from that hand in order to rewrite the hand history later points out, hey man, re-look at that hand you just bucked. It's a flush.
And the Graph Teckle tweet was really good.
What was that one?
Oh my gosh, you gotta find it. He said like something along the lines of, reporters can step in, but if a reporter reports a hand wrong, you could tell them how to do their job better.
Oh,
You could tell them how to.
Who did this?
Graph Teckle. Like, it's just a like meme tweet, but it was really funny.
Which makes it especially funny is that we do that as players. Like anytime a reporter gets a hand detail wrong, we flip out.
Yeah.
And look, I don't want to demean poker reporting or anything along those lines.
It's probably not easy. Those guys work crazy
Of
long
course. However, they're not on the front lines of the Afghanistan war here. Like I don't know to what degree we can start to make some exceptions when you're talking about the code of ethics that journalists follow. It's just not the fucking same. You can interfere in situations where it benefits all parties, except Maurice in this instance, for you to be able to speak up.
Have we gotten a definitive answer on whether or not they are not supposed to do these types of things?
Well, I think in training, at least my understanding, I'm not sure. Like,
so we don't know for sure yet.
Well, what are you asking?
My question is, are they told, hey, do not say something?
By who?
By their boss.
I would assume no. That's not the way this works. Their boss would be somebody like me, right? Not someone like me, but like whoever owns like Poker News or PokerOrg or whatever. It's like they're not likely to be journalists. They learn this in school. Like they learn this when they're getting their degree, that you're meant to be a fly on the wall, that you're meant to be seen and not heard or whatever, and you're not. It's like people capturing wildlife. If if you see an animal killing another animal, that's the circle of life. You're not supposed to interfere type of thing. But that can't apply to all situations. It just doesn't make sense. There's different types of journalism, right? Like, and in this particular instance, you're writing down hand histories. So it's like, look, I appreciate the effort and everything, but I don't think we need a lot of integrity here. If we did, we'd be a lot more, I guess, like up in arms when the details of the hands are wrong. And maybe that's not a fair comparison, but point is like, if the industry itself says, hey, we're happy to have you be an extra set of eyes, and that does seem to be the overwhelming message by most, then that should just be a part of the job description. You know, operators should start to expect that from the journalists, and not in a way of like, if you see something, you have to say something, but more so in the way of, if you see something, you're free to say something, that type of thing. Circling back to Deeb's tweets, this one was the most insane one to me. He said, imagine a camera guy in an NBA game telling the refs they ruled something incorrectly and trying to change the outcome of the game. People would lose their shit. It's no different in poker. You guys have such terrible takes on what should be done. And it's extremely different for a lot of reasons. Number one, in this instance, the quote-unquote people losing their shit would just be the players getting tilted at a fair outcome because it impacts them and they're just emotional and, you know, are ridiculous about it. But in the NBA, that margin of error for the referees making and missing calls is baked into the finals. Like, it's baked into the results. There should be no margin of error here. You know, the cards are just up. There's no way of missing this one. Jared Smith's response was really good. He said, it's not the same thing at all, and you know it. What would be a more apt comparison is if the cameraman noticed the scoreboard was incorrect and a team wasn't awarded the correct amount of points. That's the proper comparison.
The very black and white.
Black and white.
Binary, yeah.
No debate. And it's not a matter of fair or unfair in the sense of...
What did he respond to that with?
Did he respond?
Yeah.
I don't know that he even did.
Yeah, I saw it. I couldn't read it that fast. Sorry, it wasn't.
No, he didn't respond.
Oh, I thought I saw the check. I thought, my bad. Womp womp.
Rich Ryan responded. He said they still shouldn't intervene. That's crazy.
I mean, that would be a Sean take. So Sean responded with that.
It's just like, okay, well, why? And it's just like, well, they just shouldn't. It's like, okay, but why? Because it would help everybody if they did. It's like, well, because God damn it, I don't like change. It's like, wait. What are we doing here? It just doesn't make sense.
So I think what you're talking about is like something that's like subjective, like when you're calling balls and strikes, like there's like this gray area of like, well, it was just on the corner, this and that. But when you talk about the scoreboard and it's a black and white thing, then yeah, that makes sense.
You know, you could boil those types of things down to objectivity as well. However, the point is that the spirit of the game expects margins of error on those types of things because we allow subjective...
like calling balls and strikes.
Yeah, we allow subjectivity to rule them, right? We could just computerize it and it could just be objective at that point, right? But if it's subjective, then there is no objective eye in the sky, so to speak, right? In this instance, though, like it's just black and white. It's definitely the scoreboard analogy.
Funny enough, that really would not happen if there was somebody like when we do the academies, you know, like Brian's like running the RFID machine.
Yeah.
If there's somebody on the floor next to the table inputting that stuff into a machine, and it would say like the equity where it'd say like Queen 10 with the club, like 100%.
Right.
So it always goes to the right person.
Yeah.
Like that's how poker should be, but obviously there's resources and time intense there. But having some sort of angle of missing your winning hand, it seems off.
I would love to know what Triton's policy is, because they have somebody recording every single hand at every single table. Mm-hmm. So every hand dealt in a tournament is recorded. I wonder what their policy is as far as letting that person just like casually walk up, whisper in the dealer's ear, like, hey, you overpaid here.
I'll play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
You would think, though, that at Triton, the level of poker that these guys are playing, like I just don't see someone looking at that board and then going, "Oh, I thought I lost."
Everyone makes mistakes.
No, I get it.
Everybody makes mistakes. It might
But
happen less
also
often.
the integrity at these. Well, now this is a slippery slope. It would be hard for it to get past that many people. I think. I understand if it's three-handed. Like, still, I don't see them fudging it.
I tend to agree with you, but
I would agree with that also.
it's non-zero.
It is non-zero. I also think that if there was somehow in some world a mistake, that Triton would find a way to
Make it right.
Make it right, yeah.
reconcile it. I suppose that's the word.
I mean, the fact that like this stuff has happened on stream before is a clear indication that there could be an attempt at changing policy, letting production intervene, letting media intervene in situations where they catch something that other people don't. It just seems crazy not to. While we're on Deeb's terrible takes, Rachel K. Winter tweeted out, and I thought this was perfect. Like, this is just it. She says, in my 4 years of poker media, I've spoken up about 2 misread hands. Both were face up on the river in all-in scenarios, both very deep in the tournaments. Both times I quietly leaned into the dealer and pointed it out. Both times the dealer was incredibly appreciative. One tournament was for life heads up, and the player was already celebrating their win, even though it was rightfully a chop pot. The latter was a correction that negatively affected a friend, and even he was appreciative of the fair correction. The cards speak, and you can point something out in a way that does not embarrass anyone, but does not affect the integrity of the game. I think that's spot on, accurate, perfectly said. That should be literally the standard across the board. Those examples could be used. You could write that into code, as far as I'm concerned, as far as like what media is or is not allowed to do. And Deeb quote tweeted and said, "I'm sorry, but that's just awful. Every media member I've ever talked to said there's supposed to be flies on the wall. Can't affect the tournament at all. You should have been reprimanded or fired for affecting the tournament, even though you showed you did it against a friend." And it's just like, I don't understand that sentiment, because what purity are you preserving by taking that stance, right? It's not in the spirit of the game. The spirit of the game is that the cards speak. So you're not protecting that, right? You're not protecting the sanctity of the match itself. All you're protecting is the iteration of this outcome where there was a mistake that impacts the final conclusion, right? And I don't see any reason whatsoever. Like, I can't find a logical explanation.
I would think that and again, I'm not saying this is correct. I would think that the argument is, look how many times you're going to slow down this tournament because you're just letting anyone and everyone point out a mistake. And then, God forbid, they actually don't point out a mistake.
Sure.
And they will jump all over that. Look what happens when you let X, Y, and Z.
I mean, you're right in the sense that, like, that's the argument people are making.
Right. But it's not
I just think it's
good one, right?
At that
not very
point, the
compelling.
person that spoke up is just kind of get clowned on, but they're the ones that kind of get the worst of it. The pot's still going to go to the right person, even if he's wrong. And the pot goes to the right person if he's right.
Yeah, I mean, the whole...
You know what I mean?
The whole narrative that suddenly we're going to have to deal with hundreds of these instances.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen.
We're talking like a handful. And it does happen. Like, the second this story broke, people started speaking, oh, I remember this time that this happened. Remember that time on the King stream where there was a chop pot that was unfairly awarded. Remember that time at Bahamas whenever there was a mispay that was...
Honestly, it makes sense because like there's just millions of hands of poker being played for who knows how long. And so of course mistakes are going to happen, but the solution should try to be to keep mistakes to a minimum rather than have somebody get like, I guess, angle themselves in a way.
Yeah, I just don't. My big thing is like I just don't understand the delineation between casual onlooker, media member, and floor person. If a floor walks by as that all-in's happening and pauses as the river's being dealt and then watches the dealer kill the winning hand and says, no, buddy, like you just killed a flush, everyone's going to be appreciative. If somebody on the rail points out, no, he won, look, turn the hand back over, and he looks and realizes that he killed a flush, everyone's going to be appreciative. Why on earth is the person who's recording the fucking hand demonized if he points this out or she points this out?
They were just trying their best.
because there's like some standard of ethics of being a journalist. I'm sorry, like journalism does not apply to hand histories. It just doesn't. Like I'm not trying to cheapen what they do or be dismissive or anything like that, but like let's call a spade here. Like, you know, you're not
Or a club
or club a club, you know?
Well, we didn't call a club a club. We called the club a spade.
Right.
We called the club a club.
Right.
This wouldn't happen.
I'm just saying, like, you know, this isn't Geraldo on the front lines. You know, this isn't Tom Brokaw hosting the nightly news.
Not Barbara Walters.
This isn't Barbara Walters with a breaking interview. Like, I get that as a trained professional, you have guidelines that you're expected to follow. But like, if the industry commands for something more, then by all means, there should be flexibility there. It just doesn't register to me. It's just crazy to me to not want to get this right. The other weird thing to me is that this conversation even sparked. Like, where and when did the person recording the hand even say that he noticed in real time that the winning hand was killed? Is it because like it went on the Poker News story and then they tried to delete it or whatever?
I don't have it in front of me now. But
also,
wasn't it reported? I don't think in the actual written report he wrote, "Hey, the wrong person got paid out."
He did not.
Right.
And he also did not write, at least if I recall correctly, he didn't write that Queen 10 made a flush. So the pertinent details were included in the sense that he included the suits of the cards correctly, but it easily could have been passed off as the reporter miswrote.
Oversight, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think this will be about the end of it, but it's an interesting conversation. It's one that I hope does get changed moving forward, especially because I think the way Triton does things is going to become not the standard, but I think it's a step towards the direction that we could see live poker take. Right now, it just requires way too much manpower. You have to have a physical person at every single table, but somewhere down the line, this stuff's going to get automated. You know, the guys over at RF Poker are doing a great job. If those tables start to get implemented into tournament rooms across the world, you're going to have every single hand recorded. You're going to have every hand history. Yeah. And to be fair, you won't need the dealer to tell you where the pot is pushed because they'll just have an iPad in front of them that tells them where it's supposed to go. And when there's a huge discrepancy in chips after the pot gets pushed the wrong way, we'll know why. It'll be easy to just backtrack, reverse engineer, and make everything right. I don't know. It's very telling to me where people fall in the industry on the side that they take in this particular stance. I think like anybody not wanting to make the pot right, to me, definitely falls under the old guard of seeing this game as just warfare, where all things are kind of on the table. And to me, like that's a bit concerning, especially in today's landscape where it's easier than ever to find unsavory edges. Like, I don't really think that's what we should be promoting to people. Call me crazy. I don't know. Hopefully they do right by Divyam and figure something out. I truly don't even know.
When he said that they were going to get back to him, I really hope they do. But a little part of me was like, I don't know, man.
Yeah. I also just like, what's even making it right here? I guess giving him the 6K or 6K in value somehow, putting him in the main.
Get him in the main.
I think putting him in the main would be kind of nice.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool, I suppose.
I guess like the main seat also kind of a sick story. Guy plays the main because they messed up and he wins it for who knows how much money.
Yeah.
That's like the hero's journey.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
there's a chance that you could have spun up to 7K and won the tournament.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that crazy to win 2 all-ins and have chip lead.
That's why I'm saying like the 6K would be a nice gesture, but like he would happily forego $6,000 to replay that spot. Like I'm sure if they offered him a chop, he wouldn't have been pumped. It would just be like, no, fuck it. Like I have $2 million now. Let's try to spin.
Right. It's almost like a who knows who cares sort of thing, but also there's a real chance that I don't know how many big blinds he would have had. I guess Mel knows 10 bigs or whatever, but like I mean 20 bigs is not really. It's like no joke, you know.
Yeah.
It's a lot more than it seems.
Yeah, that's true.
Could just win the tournament.
Could just win the tournament. How nice would that be?
Yeah,
Well,
like there's so many stories. Like Merson won the main having 2 bigs. Where imagine like one of the hands that he won the main with 2 bigs was like, oh, like my bad. Like I chopped the pot, but I thought I lost, and he's gone.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they do well. Hopefully they do right by him. Hopefully he gets some sort of compensation. That's going to do it for us today, and that's going to do it for us on this conversation, almost certainly. I think we're going to put it to bed now.
Ship it in and go to bed.
We'll be back tomorrow. We're going to be talking about the statement Moneymaker put out regarding the
goofballs,
the recent goofballs, and their GTO wizard in the background, as well as the Doug Polk challenge that has gone awry. It's gone awry, to say the least. So we'll fill you guys in on all things WPT Gold, as well as ACR tomorrow. We'll see you guys all then.
Bye.
Peace.